The sun was setting, casting a golden hue over the small park where we had decided to celebrate our engagement. It felt like the world had conspired to create the perfect backdrop for such a monumental moment in our lives. Laughter from nearby families blended with the gentle rustling of leaves, wrapping us in a cozy atmosphere that felt like a warm embrace. I glanced at Alex, my fiancé, who was setting up the picnic blanket with a smile that could light up the darkest corners of my heart. His brown hair glinted in the fading light, and his eyes sparkled with excitement. This was our moment, the beginning of our forever. As he pulled out the gourmet snacks and sparkling cider, I couldn't help but feel a rush of happiness. "Can you believe we're finally engaged?" I asked, a smile spreading across my face. "I've dreamed of this day for so long," he replied, his voice warm and genuine. "You have no idea how much you mean to me." I felt my heart flutter at his words. It was easy to get lost in the depths of his affection. This moment was everything I had hoped for, an affirmation of our love, a promise of commitment. We settled down on the blanket, surrounded by a spread of food and the gentle sounds of nature. I took a deep breath, reveling in the sweetness of the moment. "What do you see for us in the future?" I asked, leaning back against the soft fabric of the blanket. Alex looked up at the sky, thoughtful. "I see us traveling the world, building a life together, and maybe even starting a family one day." He paused, his expression becoming more serious. "But I want to know that you'll always be by my side, no matter what." "Always," I promised, a sense of reassurance washing over me. Just as I was about to lean in for a kiss, my phone buzzed insistently in my pocket, disrupting the moment. It was a message from Claire, Alexa's ex-girlfriend. My heart sank a little, but I brushed it aside, not wanting anything to dampen our celebration. "Everything okay?" Alex asked, noticing my sudden shift in mood. "Yeah, just a message from work," I replied, forcing a smile. "You know how it is." He nodded, though I could see the curiosity in his eyes. "Let's forget about everything else for tonight, okay? Just us." I smiled and reached for his hand, feeling the warmth radiate between us. "Just us," I echoed, savoring the taste of love that filled the air. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of pink and purple, Alex reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. My heart raced. "Wait, is this what I think it is?" I gasped, my voice a mix of disbelief and excitement. "I wanted to do this right," he said, kneeling in front of me. "Will you marry me?" The world around us faded as I looked into his eyes, seeing nothing but sincerity and love. "Yes, 1,000 times yes," I exclaimed, tears of joy welling up in my eyes. He slid the ring onto my finger, and in that moment, everything felt perfect. We embraced, sealing the promise of our future together. The laughter, the excitement, it was all there. A beautiful tapestry woven with the threads of our love. As we pulled apart, I couldn't help but feel an inkling of unease creep in. I glanced at the message from Claire, still lingering in my mind, but I pushed it aside. Tonight was about us, and nothing could ruin that. "To our future," Alex said, raising his glass of sparkling cider. "To our future," I echoed, clanking my glass against his, determined to cherish this moment before the shadows began to creep in. Little did I know that the blissful beginning of our engagement would soon be overshadowed by unexpected turmoil. The warmth of the evening sun was replaced by an ominous chill as we left the park, still basking in the afterglow of our engagement. Alex and I decided to meet friends at a nearby rooftop bar to celebrate. As we climbed the stairs, my heart fluttered with excitement, eager to share our news with our closest friends. Little did I know the night would take a dark and dangerous turn. The rooftop was alive with laughter and chatter, the city lights twinkling against the night sky. We were greeted with cheers and congratulations, and for a moment, everything felt perfect. I took a sip of my drink, laughing at a joke someone had made, when I noticed a commotion across the street. "What's happening over there?" I asked, squinting to see through the crowd. The flames were beginning to lick the sides of an old building, smoke curling up into the sky like a dark omen. Alex turned to me, his expression suddenly serious. "I think it's the art studio. Claire used to work there." His voice held an edge of concern that sent a shiver down my spine. "We should call the fire department," I suggested, my heart racing. "I'll be right back," he said, already moving toward the edge of the rooftop, where he could see the chaos below. I could sense a shift in the air. It was as if a storm was brewing, and I was helplessly caught in the eye of it. I watched as he hurried down the stairs, my stomach twisting with anxiety. The laughter and celebration felt distant now, replaced by the crackling of flames and the frantic shouts of people. I could barely focus on what was happening around me, my mind racing with thoughts of Alex and Claire. Minutes later, I caught up with Alex at the street corner, where a crowd had gathered, staring in disbelief as the flames grew more ferocious. Firefighters were already on the scene, but the situation was dire. "Where's Claire?" I asked, scanning the crowd for her familiar face. Alex's jaw tightened. "I don't know. I need to find her." I grabbed his arm, desperation clawing at my heart. "You can't go in there. It's too dangerous." "I can't just stand here and do nothing," he shouted back, his frustration boiling over. She might be trapped. As if on cue, I saw Claire's figure emerge from the chaos, coughing and disoriented. Relief washed over me for a moment until I noticed her desperate gaze scanning the scene, searching for Alex. "Alex," she cried, her voice breaking through the chaos. My heart dropped as I watched him react instinctively, rushing toward her. "I'm here. Are you okay?" he yelled, pushing through the throng of onlookers. Claire reached out, her eyes wide with panic. I was inside. I couldn't get out. I thought I was going to die. I felt as if the ground beneath me had crumbled away. "Alex, please. You need to stay with me," I shouted, but my voice was lost in the crowd. "Stay back, Claire. Just stay back," he called, his focus solely on her, ignoring my pleas. Suddenly, an explosion erupted from the building, flames bursting through the windows, sending shards of glass flying into the air. The crowd gasped, instinctively taking a step back. My heart raced as I realized Alex was still standing there, torn between two worlds, the woman he once loved and the woman he had just promised his life to. "Alex," I cried, panic rising in my throat. "Get away from her." But he didn't hear me. The intensity in his eyes told me everything. I was losing him, even if just for this moment. "I can't leave her," he yelled back, his voice filled with urgency. "She needs my help." The firefighters were yelling now, pushing people back. "Everyone needs to evacuate. It's not safe here." My chest felt tight as I watched him hesitate, his loyalty warring with the fire raging behind him. Finally, in an instant of clarity, he made his decision. He sprinted toward the building, his silhouette swallowed by the darkness and flames. "Alexa, no," I screamed, my voice hoarse as I felt the ground slip away beneath me. The fire roared, but all I could hear was my heartbeat pounding in my ears. I was losing him to the very flames that had threatened to consume everything we had just built together. The crowd surged backward as the situation spiraled out of control, but my feet felt rooted to the ground, paralyzed by fear and disbelief. "This isn't happening," I whispered to myself, desperation clawing at my heart as I waited for the man I loved to return. The seconds turned into an eternity, each one stretching out painfully. I could only stand and watch as the world around me blurred into chaos, the flames licking at the night sky as I realized that this moment would change everything. The chaos of the fire was still fresh in my mind as I stood on the sidewalk, waiting for Alex to return. Each second felt like an eternity, stretching my anxiety into an unbearable weight that settled heavily in my chest. I could hear the frantic sirens of the fire trucks and the shouts of firefighters trying to bring order to the chaos. But all I could focus on was the gaping void Alex had left behind when he ran toward Claire. He'll be back, I told myself, though doubt gnawed at my insides. The crowd had begun to disperse as emergency personnel took control of the scene, but I remained frozen, unable to tear my gaze from the inferno. My heart pounded, and my hands trembled on my sides. I tried calling his phone, but it went straight to voicemail. Suddenly, I spotted him emerging from the building, a few feet ahead, and my heart leaped in relief. But then I noticed the look on his face. His expression was a mixture of shock, fear, and guilt. Claire was following closely behind, coughing and shaking, her hair singed but unharmed. Alex. I shouted, rushing to him as the firefighters ushered us all further from the danger. Are you okay? He turned to me, and for a fleeting moment, the weight of the world fell from his shoulders. I'm fine, but I had to help her, he said, his voice trembling. You shouldn't have gone in there. It was too dangerous. I snapped, frustration bubbling over. What were you thinking? Claire stepped forward, her eyes wide and frantic. I couldn't get out. I thought I was going to die. Thank you, Alex, she said, reaching out to him, her voice breaking. You're safe now, Alex replied, his attention shifting back to me, and I could see the conflict in his eyes. That's all that matters. But it didn't matter to me. A cold realization settled in my bones. He had chosen to go after her instead of staying with me. What about me, Alex? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. What does this mean for us? He hesitated, glancing between Claire and me, the weight of his decision pressing heavily on his shoulders. I didn't think. I just acted, he stammered, the panic creeping back into his voice. I couldn't just let her die. I could feel my heart breaking as I took a step back, the distance between us growing wider. You put her before me. You made a choice. I cried, feeling a mix of anger and heartbreak. That's not fair. You know I love you. He replied, desperation creeping into his tone. Do you? Because it sure doesn't feel that way right now. I shot back, tears welling in my eyes. I can't believe you ran into that fire for her. I thought I was the one you wanted to spend your life with. The air grew thick with tension, and for a moment, we both stood there, caught in a web of unresolved emotions and misunderstandings. Claire shifted awkwardly, clearly sensing the strain between us. Maybe I should go, she said softly, glancing back toward the chaos. No, Claire, Alex interjected, his voice rising slightly. You're not the problem here. The weight of his words hung in the air, and I could feel my heart sink. Then what is? I asked, my voice barely a whisper, because it sure feels like we're at a crossroads. Alex ran a hand through his hair, frustration evident on his face. I need time to think. Time, the word felt like a dagger. You need time? I echoed, hurt flooding my chest. After everything we just went through? After you made a decision that could have cost you your life? You think time will fix this? I didn't know what to do. I was scared, he shouted, his eyes wild. I didn't want to lose anyone. I stepped back, feeling the distance grow like a chasm between us. But you did lose someone, Alex. You lost me the moment you chose her. The tears began to spill down my cheeks, and I turned away, not wanting to see the hurt in his eyes. I had never wanted to hurt him, but I also couldn't deny the bitter truth that had settled in my heart. As I walked away, leaving him standing there with Claire, I felt a sense of finality wash over me. This moment, this heartbreaking decision, had changed everything. The aftermath of the fire felt like a haunting echo in my mind. For days, I moved through a haze of shock and disbelief. The moment Alex had rushed into that burning building replayed over and over, a cruel loop that left me feeling dizzy and disoriented. I could hardly focus on anything but the sense of betrayal that gnawed at my heart. Returning home after the chaos was surreal. The familiar comfort of my apartment felt foreign, almost suffocating. I dropped my bag on the floor and collapsed onto the couch, staring blankly at the wall. My phone buzzed incessantly, messages flooding in from friends checking on me, but I ignored them. I couldn't bear to talk about it, let alone confront the reality of what had happened. "Hey, are you in there?" came a soft voice from the other side of the door. It was Mia, my best friend. I told her about the engagement and the excitement we shared just days before. I could only imagine what she was thinking now. I opened the door slowly, letting her in. She rushed to me, concern etched across her face. "Oh my God, are you okay?" I saw the news about the fire. I was so worried. I shrugged, the weight of my emotions pressing down on me. "I'm fine, just tired." Mia studied me, her gaze piercing through my facade. "You don't look fine. You look hollow." I slumped back onto the couch, running a hand through my hair. It's just everything. The fire, Alex, Claire, I don't even know what to think anymore. She sat beside me, taking my hand in hers. "You have to talk about it. You can't keep bottling this up." I took a deep breath, my heart aching as I recalled the look on Alex's face when he had chosen Claire. He ran into that fire for her, Mia. I thought I was the one he loved, but in that moment, he chose her over me. "That's a lot to process," she said gently. "But you know that doesn't erase everything you two built together, doesn't it?" I shot back, bitterness creeping into my voice. "It feels like it does." He put her life before ours, before our future. Mia sighed, leaning back and crossing her arms. "You're not being fair to him. He acted out of instinct. You know he loves you." "Does he?" I asked, tears pricking my eyes. If he loved me, why did he run toward the flames instead of staying with me? Mia didn't have an answer. We sat in silence for a moment, the weight of my heartache hanging heavily in the air. Finally, she spoke. "What do you want to do now?" I shook my head, feeling lost. "I don't know. I thought I had it all figured out. I was so excited to marry him." Mia squeezed my hand, offering a reassuring presence. "Maybe it's time to take a step back and really think about what you want. You deserve someone who will choose you, even in the face of danger." That thought echoed in my mind long after Mia left. I was tired of feeling like an afterthought in my own life. The next few days dragged on in a blur of uncertainty and dread. I avoided Alex's calls, unable to face him after everything that had happened. Each ring felt like a reminder of the rift that had grown between us. Finally, I couldn't avoid him any longer. I agreed to meet him at a cafe we used to frequent, a place filled with memories of laughter and love. Walking inside felt surreal. The familiar sense of coffee and pastries filled the air, but it was tainted by the anxiety twisting in my stomach. When I saw Alex sitting at a corner table, his head down, I felt a mix of emotions surge through me. I approached hesitantly, taking a seat across from him. The silence between us was deafening. "I'm glad you came," he said, lifting his gaze. The exhaustion in his eyes mirrored my own. I didn't know how else to handle everything. I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. He nodded, taking a deep breath as if trying to gather his thoughts. I've been thinking a lot about what happened. About us. And, I prompted, my heart racing. I didn't choose Claire over you, he insisted, his tone pleading. I just acted in the moment. I know it was a mistake. But please understand, I didn't think. I was just trying to save someone. But it was Claire. I interjected, my frustration bubbling up again. You went into a burning building for her. You risked your life for her, Alex. And I would risk my life for you too. He shot back, his voice rising. I can't change what happened, but I want to make it right. The hurt in his voice hit me hard. I could see the desperation etched into his features, and for a moment, I felt my resolve wavering. I don't know if you can make this right, I admitted, tears welling in my eyes. I don't know how to trust you after this. His expression softened, and he reached across the table to take my hand. I love you, and I'm so sorry for everything. I want to prove that to you. But even as I looked into his eyes, searching for the love I once felt so strongly, doubt crept in. I need time, I said finally, pulling my hand away. I need to figure out what I want. He nodded, defeat etched on his face. I'll give you that. Just know I'm here when you're ready. I left the cafe with a heavy heart, knowing that the aftermath of the fire would shape the rest of our story. The love we once shared felt fragile, teetering on the edge of an uncertain future. The path ahead was unclear, but one thing was certain. I had to find a way to reclaim my own sense of self before I could consider what lay ahead for us. The days dragged on like a weary clock, each tick amplifying the tension that had settled between Alex and me. I avoided social gatherings, relying on Mia to keep me grounded as I wrestled with my emotions. But the inevitable confrontation loomed large, and I knew I couldn't put it off forever. One rainy afternoon, while the world outside was drenched in gray, I found myself standing outside Alex's apartment building. My heart raced as I took a deep breath, summoning the courage to face him. The rain was relentless, a backdrop to the storm brewing within me. You can do this, I muttered to myself, wiping the beads of water from my forehead. I stepped inside, the familiar scent of his cologne mixed with a faint aroma of coffee welcoming me, but the comfort was short-lived. As I entered his apartment, I found him seated on the couch, his laptop open but abandoned. He looked up, surprise flashing across his face before it was replaced by apprehension. Hey, he said, his voice barely a whisper. Hey. The single word felt heavy in the air, charged with unspoken words and unresolved feelings. I took a seat across from him, my heart racing. We need to talk. Alex nodded, anxiety flickering in his eyes. I've been waiting for you to come by. I've had a lot on my mind. So have I replied, crossing my arms tightly over my chest. And it's about what happened at the fire. I told you, I didn't mean to. Stop. I interrupted, my voice rising as frustration bubbled over. This isn't just about the fire, Alex. It's about everything that led up to it, and what it means for us. He sighed, running a hand through his hair, the stress evident in his posture. I know. I'm sorry. I wish I could take it back, but I can't. You're right. You can't. My voice trembled, anger mixing with hurt. But you need to understand how this feels for me. You ran into that building for Claire. You put her life before mine, before our future. Alex's gaze faltered, and he looked away, the weight of my words sinking in. I didn't think. I acted without considering the consequences. I thought I was saving a life. And what about my life? Our life? I countered, my heart aching. You made a choice, and it didn't include me. He stood up, pacing the small living room as he struggled to articulate his feelings. You think I wanted to choose? It was a split-second decision. I didn't know how I would react. I was scared. I still am. Scared of what? I challenged, feeling the frustration surge within me. Of losing someone you've been with for years, or scared of losing the idea of being a hero for someone you used to love. He paused, the tension hanging between us thick and suffocating. You don't get to judge my feelings, especially not right now. I'm not judging, I'm trying to understand. I shot back, my voice wavering. But it feels like I'm standing on the sidelines of my own life while you play savior for someone else. Alex's expression softened, the anger dissipating as sadness took its place. You mean everything to me. I've never felt this way about anyone before. But when I saw Claire, he trailed off, the pain evident in his eyes. It was instinct. I didn't think I could lose someone again. I felt my heart twist at the vulnerability in his words, but it didn't erase the hurt. But you did lose me. I don't know if I can trust you again. I don't know if I can keep pretending everything is okay. He stepped closer, desperation etched into his features. Please just give me a chance to prove that I can be the man you need. I made a mistake, but I want to make it right. And how do you plan to do that? I challenged, crossing my arms tighter. What can you say that will fix this? He took a deep breath, his eyes searching mine. I'll do whatever it takes. I'll go to therapy. I'll show you I can be better, more reliable, more present. Just give me a chance to show you I'm serious about us. Tears welled in my eyes as I wrestled with my emotions. Part of me wanted to believe him, wanted to return to the warmth and safety of his embrace. But the betrayal still lingered, heavy in the air. You have to understand, Alex, I said, my voice trembling. I need time to figure this out. I can't just pretend everything's fine. He nodded slowly, the understanding washing over his face. I get it. I just hope you'll find your way back to me. I'm willing to wait. As I left his apartment that day, my heart was a tangled mess of hope and doubt. I could see the longing in his eyes, the genuine desire to mend what had been broken. But the reality of our situation weighed heavily on me. Could I really forgive him? Could I find my way back to the love we once shared? The questions loomed. In the weeks that followed my confrontation with Alex, I found myself immersed in a sea of introspection. Each day felt like a wrestling match between my heart and my mind, each side battling for dominance. I leaned on Mia, who was a steadfast support, as I sifted through my feelings, desperately trying to find clarity in the chaos. One evening, as we sat on my couch surrounded by empty coffee mugs and the remnants of takeout, I finally opened up about the turmoil inside me. I don't know what to do, Mia, I confessed, staring into my mug as if it held the answers. I thought love was supposed to feel safe, but now I feel like I'm walking on eggshells. Mia put down her fork and leaned forward, her eyes steady on mine. Love isn't always safe. It's messy, complicated, and sometimes it hurts. But that doesn't mean it isn't worth it. I sighed, running a hand through my hair in frustration. But how do I know if what I'm feeling is love or just nostalgia? I miss the way things used to be, but I can't ignore what happened. You can miss the good parts and still be angry about the bad. It's not black and white, she replied softly. You have to give yourself permission to feel everything. The thought hung in the air, and I found myself reflecting on the foundation of my relationship with Alex. I remembered the laughter, the dreams we shared, and the warmth of his embrace. But I also recalled the moment of betrayal, the way it felt to realize I had been replaced in an instant. What if I can't get past it? I whispered, my voice cracking under the weight of my fears. What if I can't trust him again? Mia nodded, her expression understanding. That's a valid fear. But trust isn't rebuilt overnight. It takes time and effort from both of you. Have you talked to him about how you're feeling? Not really. I've been avoiding him, I admit it. I just don't know how to explain everything swirling in my head. Mia reached out, squeezing my hand. You need to try. If you want to know if your love for him is real, you have to confront it. Talk it out, find out if you're both on the same page. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, Mia's words echoing in my mind. I realized that I had been so focused on the hurt that I hadn't allowed myself to process what I truly wanted. Maybe it was time to confront my feelings head-on. The next day, I mustered the courage to text Alex. Can we meet? I need to talk. His reply was almost instant. Of course. When and where? We agreed to meet at a nearby park, a place we had often visited in happier times. As I approached, I saw him sitting on a bench, his head bowed. He looked up as I drew near, and I could see the mixture of hope and fear in his eyes. Thanks for coming, he said, standing to greet me. I needed to talk, I replied, taking a seat beside him. The sun filtered through the leaves, casting dappled shadows on the ground, but the warmth couldn't reach the chill in my heart. I've missed you, he said, his voice low. I've been thinking a lot about everything. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make things right. I took a deep breath, my heart pounding in my chest. I've been reevaluating everything, Alex. Our relationship, what it means to me, and what happened at the fire. He nodded, his eyes searching mine. And I don't know if I can just forget about it. I don't know if I can trust you like I used to. I admitted, my voice trembling. You made a choice that day, and it felt like I was invisible. I never wanted to make you feel that way, he replied, anguish etching his features. I was caught up in a moment of panic. I realize now that I should have been focused on you, on us. But that doesn't change what happened, I countered, tears stinging my eyes. I can't just pretend everything is okay. I need to feel safe in this relationship. Alex reached for my hand, but I hesitated, torn between wanting to feel his warmth and the fear of being hurt again. I understand, he said gently, his voice steady. I'm willing to work for it, to earn your trust back. I'll go to therapy, I'll do whatever it takes. Just give me a chance to show you that I can be the partner you deserve. His sincerity tugged at my heart, but the fear of vulnerability loomed large. It's not just about you, Alex. I have to figure out what I want, too. I've been so focused on the betrayal that I haven't really thought about what love means to me. What does it mean to you? He asked, genuinely curious. I took a moment, letting the question sink in. I want love to feel safe, supportive, and honest. I want to feel like I can trust my partner, that they'll choose me every time. Alex nodded slowly, absorbing my words. I want that too. I want to be the person you can count on, the person who shows up for you. The weight of our conversation settled heavily around us, but a flicker of hope ignited in my chest. Maybe we could find a way back to each other, even if the road was long and winding. It's going to take time, I finally said, my voice steadying. But I'm willing to explore this with you. I want to understand what we have, even if it's messy. A smile broke across his face, relief washing over him. I'll be here every step of the way. As we sat together in the park, the sun casting a warm glow around us, I felt the first stirrings of hope. Love was complicated, messy, and sometimes painful, but it was also a journey worth taking. Together, we could navigate the uncertainty, reevaluate what we meant to each other, and find a way to rebuild our foundation brick by brick. The air felt thick with anticipation as I settled into my routine with Alex, cautiously navigating our renewed commitment to each other. We were like two ships passing in the night, tethered by the hope of mending our fractured bond, but still haunted by the shadows of the past. Each day was a test of loyalty, not only to each other, but to ourselves as we grappled with lingering doubts. One Friday evening, I sat at my kitchen table, the remnants of a half-eaten pizza, and an open bottle of wine before me. Mia had convinced me to have a girls' night, but the lingering tension in my heart kept me from fully engaging. Just as I was about to text her to call it a night, my phone buzzed. It was Alex. Hey, can we talk later? I need to discuss something important. A knot tightened in my stomach. I took a deep breath and replied, Sure. What's going on? I'll explain when I see you. Can I come over? I felt a mix of anxiety and hope. Yeah, of course. As I prepared for his arrival, I couldn't shake the feeling that whatever he needed to discuss was significant. The doorbell rang, and I opened the door to find him standing there, his expression serious. Hey, I greeted him, stepping aside to let him in. Thanks for having me. He looked around, and I could sense the weight of the conversation hanging in the air. We sat down on the couch, and I could feel the tension radiating between us. What's on your mind? I asked, trying to keep my tone steady. He ran a hand through his hair, a nervous habit I had come to recognize. So you know I've been working on my issues, trying to be better for you, for us. I nodded, my heart racing. Yeah, I've noticed. I appreciate it. He hesitated for a moment before continuing. Well, my boss offered me a chance to work on a project out of state for a few months. It could be a great opportunity for my career, but his voice trailed off. But, I prompted, my stomach tightening. But I'd be away from you, and I don't want to put us in a position where trust becomes an issue again. He met my gaze, his eyes earnest. I want to be transparent about it. If I go, I need to know you're okay with it. My mind raced with the implications of his words. It's a big opportunity, Alex. I want you to succeed, but what if it becomes another test of loyalty? What if you're out of sight and out of mind? He leaned forward, his hands clasped together in front of him. I understand your concerns, but I promise I'll make this work. I'll call, FaceTime, whatever it takes. I want to show you that you're still my priority, no matter where I am. I felt torn between supporting him and the fear of losing him again. I just don't want to end up in a situation where you're tempted to choose someone else again. You know how that felt. He sighed, looking defeated for a moment. I know, and I regret that day more than anything. But I'm not that person anymore. I want to be someone you can trust, even from a distance. I took a moment to process everything. It's just hard for me, Alex. I want to believe you, but the past keeps haunting me. He reached for my hand, his grip firm and reassuring. I want you to believe me. I'll work harder than ever to show you that I'm committed. Please don't let fear dictate our future. Tears welled in my eyes as I searched his face, hoping to find the reassurance I desperately needed. It's not that easy for me. I don't want to hold you back from your dreams, but I also don't want to lose you again. You won't lose me, he said, his voice low and steady. I swear I'll make this work. Just give me the chance to prove that I can be loyal, even when we're apart. His words struck a chord deep within me, but doubts still lingered. What if you find someone else while you're away? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. He shook his head vehemently. I won't. You have to trust me. I'm committed to making this work, no matter the distance. After what felt like an eternity of silence, I finally nodded, albeit reluctantly. Okay, I'll try to support you. Just promise me you'll keep me in the loop about everything. I promise, he replied, relief flooding his face. You'll always be the most important person in my life. As we talked more about the logistics of his potential move, I felt the tension start to ease, replaced by a cautious optimism. But in the back of my mind, the test of loyalty loomed large. That night, as I lay in bed, I reflected on the difficult choice we had both made. Love was indeed complicated, and the journey ahead was fraught with challenges. But perhaps if we leaned into our commitment and built a bridge of trust, we could weather the storm together. The summer sun began to set in hues of orange and pink as I walked through the park, reflecting on the whirlwind of emotions that had filled my life over the past few months. Alexa's decision to accept the out-of-state job was a pivotal moment for us, a chance for both of us to prove our commitment and resilience. Mia walked beside me, her usual pep dampened by the gravity of my situation. "So you're really okay with this?" she asked, giving me a sideways glance. I shrugged, trying to mask my uncertainty. "I think so. I mean, I'm scared, but I know it's a great opportunity for him. It's what he deserves." Mia nodded, her brow furrowing. "But it's also a huge risk. You're putting a lot of faith in him." "I have to," I replied, my voice steady despite the flutter of anxiety in my chest. "We've worked too hard to let fear dictate our future." As we approached a small cafe, I suggested we take a break. Sitting outside with a cup of coffee, I allowed myself a moment to breathe. "I just hope we can make this work. I want to support him, but I also need to protect myself." Mia leaned back in her chair, considering my words. "It sounds like you're setting boundaries, which is good. Just remember to communicate openly. Don't let the distance become a barrier." "I know," I said, biting my lip. We agreed to check in regularly, and I plan to hold him to that. But what if he struggles? What if the distance creates more problems than solutions? Mia reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "Then you face those problems together. Relationships aren't easy, but if you both want it to work, you'll find a way." Just then, my phone buzzed with a text from Alex. "Hey, can we FaceTime tonight? I want to talk about the move." "See, he's reaching out," Mia said, smiling. "That's a good sign." I nodded, feeling a flutter of excitement mixed with anxiety. "Yeah, it is. I just hope he's as committed as he says he is." Later that evening, I settled onto my couch, the anticipation building in my chest as I waited for Alex to call. When the screen lit up with his face, I couldn't help but smile. "Hey there," he greeted, his eyes sparkling with excitement. "Hi," I replied, trying to match his energy. "I wanted to share some details about the project," he said, his enthusiasm infectious. "It's a big deal, and I'm excited to dive in, but I'm also nervous about being away from you." "I'm nervous too," I admitted, my heart racing. "But I want you to do well. This is a huge step for your career." He nodded, his expression turning serious. "I really appreciate your support. It means the world to me. I want to make sure that I'm not just physically absent, but emotionally present too." "We need to keep the lines of communication open," I emphasized, my voice firm. "Check-ins, fast times, whatever it takes. I don't want to feel like I'm drifting away from you." "Agreed," he said, a look of determination in his eyes. "I'll make it a priority. You'll always be the most important person in my life, no matter the distance." I felt a wave of relief wash over me, and I'll do the same. I need to focus on my own goals too. I want to keep growing and not just wait for you to come back. "That sounds perfect," he replied, his smile widening. "We're in this together, right?" "Always," I said, feeling more grounded than I had in weeks. "I believe in us, Alex. We can make this work." As we wrapped up our conversation, I felt a sense of calm settle over me. Yes, there would be challenges ahead, but together we could navigate the uncertainty, just as we had faced the difficulties of the past. Over the following weeks, I focused on my own projects, finding new ways to grow and thrive. With each passing day, Alex and I maintained our commitment to communicate openly, and our connection deepened despite the miles that separated us. One day, as I strolled through the park, I spotted a couple holding hands, laughing and enjoying the moment. It struck me how love could take so many forms, and how my journey with Alex was unique, filled with trials that ultimately strengthened our bond. Later that evening, I picked up my phone and texted Alex. "I'm proud of us. I think we're really doing this." His response was immediate. "We're stronger than we were before. Here's to moving forward." As I lay in bed that night, I realized that moving forward didn't mean forgetting the past. It meant acknowledging our struggles and using them as a foundation for something better. With renewed hope, I closed my eyes, ready to embrace whatever the future held. If you enjoyed this story, please leave a like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of my new content.